All right, welcome to this introduction to Adobe Premiere. This will be a step-by-step instruction tutorial to get from raw video to an edited product pretty quickly. So here we go, step by step. Now realize that video editing software is um, when it makes the file for the video file, that file does not contain your clips or any of your media. So you need to make sure that everything goes into one folder, and in that one folder, um, everything you're going to put in there needs to go. Ugh. All right, we're going to call it demo 001. And in here, I'm going to put my clips. In this case, my clips are from an iPhone. If you're using an Android phone, or if you're using an actual camera, how you get the clips in here, I'm not going to cover that. But I used AirDrop from my iPhone to a Mac. If you're using a PC with an Android phone, I think it's super easy. Just plug it in and use it like a file folder. Um, if you're trying to go from an Android to a Mac, um, you're probably going to have to go through a PC or Google it to find how to go um, directly to a Mac from an Android. Now, I'll caution you not to make sure when you're not to email files to yourself because they will get compressed. You want to make sure that you can probably Google Drive them to yourself. Just make sure that it's not using any kind of compression and that your file is the same size as it was when it went in. Now, remember, video files can be kind of large. Like this is 128 megabytes, and this one's 404 megabytes, right? So um, half a gig here of video. So all right, let's start Premiere. I have it minimized. Here we go. Premiere. Um, So first thing I'm going to do in Premiere is start new project. Now, if you already have an existing project, right, you'll just open it, but I don't. So I'm going to start a new project. This is a frog video. Frog video. It's a video about frogs. Now, you want to make sure that this location is your folder. So you're going to browse for the folder on the desktop, demo 1, or whatever you call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. Choose. And that's where your Premiere file will be saved. For scratch disk, you want to make sure your scratch disks are all set to your fastest drive. Usually that's your main drive. And here we go. Take a second. Premiere has just been started up, so it's taking a second. There we go. So everything that I demo in Premiere initially is going to be in the editing mode. You're going to see a bunch of different modes across the top: assembly, editing, color, effects, audio, graphics, libraries. I work in the editing mode. This is the most familiar mode if you've been a video editor for 20 years. It's going to look the way that it should look. Your timeline down here, your program sequence up here, and your clip sequence up here. All right, so it says import media to start here. Before you have anything in there, you can just double click on it and you can import your media. So in this case, I have my you can see it saved my project, my Premiere project file in the demo folder. Import. All right. So there's a couple things to do. You need to make a timeline. Now, if you're satisfied with the clip, you want to make sure that your clip is the size that you want it to be. So these are full HD 1080 by 1920 clips at 29.98 frames per second, it looks like. Um, sort of standard video. Now, one thing I'll caution you, if you're shooting with different cameras, you may have different um, frame rates and you might have different aspect ratios. So you want to find a common denominator in that. If you're shooting 4K, for instance, if you're using it for the web, you may not need that much video, not much resolution. Just depends. But we can talk about that as we go along. I'm just going to go over the basics of how to make a sequence now. There's two ways to make a sequence. I can drag this to my sequence window, and then my sequence will come up. And that will automatically set the sequence settings to the same as your clip. You can also make a sequence by hitting the little folded piece of paper. Adobe products either have a little folded piece of paper or now a new circle, like a kind of rounded edged rectangle square with a plus in the middle. I'm not sure why after 20 years they decided to change that, but anyway. And here you can do a sequence, and this will let you choose. So RE30 or RE 2997. So there's a couple different settings, but those will be your basic iPhone settings. Now, if you're using something else, you're probably going to have some different settings. I want to cancel that. So this is a basic non-linear video editor. The keys that you will need to know, you'll need to know spacebar
I'm Jack.
to
I'm
play.
going to be teaching you about frogs.
All right, so that's spacebar plays, J plays backwards, the key J plays backwards, spacebar stops. Other keys you'll need to know I for in.
Jack, I'm going to be teaching you about frogs.
And O for out. So in out points allow you to easily take a section of your video and remove it. So if we do apostrophe key, that will that will lift the clip. And if you ever or extract the clip, and if you ever need to know the difference between a lift and extract, you can always look over here if your dyslexia kicks in like mine. So lift is semicolon, and extract is apostrophe. Now, what's the difference? If I have an in and I have an out and I do a lift, if I do a lift, it leaves a void in my clip. Right. Command Z to undo, clear in outs. Right click on the top will clear your in outs. Command Z will do multiple undos in this. So command, or if you're on a Windows machine, it will be control. Just so we're clear about the difference between control and command. I will say command because I'm on a Mac. You will probably use control if you're on a PC. Now, there's a couple ways to edit. This way, I can see my whole clip. I can take my clip. I can change the length of my clip just with a basic tool, just with the basic selection tool. There's, I sort of think of it as additive and subtractive editing. Subtractive editing, I would go in here and I would decide what I want, maybe with in-out points playing.
They are a food source for predators like baby alligators.
And then I could very quickly go through and subtract what I don't want for a clip. Now, clearing out. If I open up my other clip, with my other clip, you can see here in the source window that it's playing.
People catch them.
All right. So I could decide my in-outs in this window.
Them to eat them and make them pests.
So Like if I didn't want, so if I didn't want, if I didn't want the stutter on pest, but I did want the um,
them to eat them and make them
to eat them. Let's say if I wanted it right at to eat them. Now up and down arrow keys will put me to my in out points. So if I do the up key, I'm right at my in. So
them to eat them and
to eat them, and then out point. And then if I drag from here to there, I have that clip. To zoom, you use this bottom slider to zoom in and zoom out. So if I right click here, I can do a ripple delete and that will move that clip right there. Close the gaps between clips. Um,
them to eat them and
so additive editing, I would decide on where my clips go. Now remember, you're going to have to clear in outs to do more editing on this clip, or otherwise you'll just be dragging the same short second clip to your timeline. So that's the basics. You can decide on cutting up your clip with a razor blade. You could be very kind of, and you can select it, and delete works just like delete, and then ripple delete works just like ripple delete. So you can actually make gross cuts between the razor blade and the selection tool and edit together something pretty quick and pretty easy that way as well. So I'm just in this video, I just want to give you like the quick overview of how to put stuff together. I know for the next thing though, you're also going to need titles. So let's talk about titles really quickly. So there's two titlers in Adobe Premiere, the current version. One is just text. Like, so I can just select the text tool. Um, and I can click and wait for my computer to catch up. I'm sure my computer likes running OBS. And so this is a video about frogs. Um, and with these, you'll see them come up on your timeline. Right. So let's zoom in. So here's the video. Here's my title, and I can move it on the timeline. So this slides across your timeline. If you are select any, oh here, let's finish with the title. So this is a video about frogs. Now to edit this the way it looks, you can go to the graphics panel and that will give you some insight into what this can look like. So you can choose your font, right? It doesn't always have to be Minion Pro. It's a video about frogs, so maybe it'll be fancy Zepfino. Maybe a little bit overkill. Um, but you get the idea. You can make your titles look like anything you want. Um, and it's not a problem. Black. There you go. This is a video about frogs. Um, you can resize it. This will allow you, if you do it this way, there's all kinds of other options you can em employ with your text. But effectively, it works like Photoshop or Illustrator. It'll let you do those kind of basic things to it. Um, but there is another titling option. So let's go back to editing. If you go to File, New, Legacy Title, and this will make a title that actually ends up in your project bin. And in this case, mine went off screen. it'll show you what's underneath it. You get similar text tools. Um, frogs. Um, and you can move it around. Now, one thing you can keyframe the other titles and move them around. This will do scrolling and crawling titles built in. Um, Based on the how long you have your clip on the screen. So let's say I do roll, um, start off screen, end off screen, go OK, and then you just close it. You don't have to save it. You just close it, and then we put the title on. And however long you stretch the title out to be, that's how long it will take for the clip to work. So here, let's um,
Frogs.
right, a bit about frags, spelled frogs on. Um,
This
so if you catch a spelling error like that, you can just double click on the title and go in and change it. Right? And it's the same with both of them. Right? Frogs, and it'll make frogs look right. Update it right away. Um, you may have caught on already that have layers. And I probably should have covered that first, but you have um, in most clips you'll have an audio and a video layer. Um, this is your video layer. This is your audio layer. You can have multiple audio layers. You have multiple video layers. If you need to add a layer, um, you just click here and do add track, and it will ask you what kind of track you want to add, and you can just say okay, and it'll add another video track. So uh, there's a track order or a layer order, right? You have this on the bottom. Whatever's on top of that is on top. So if you think about, say, moving this clip here, um, right, you might also think about moving the audio down before you move it if you want the audios to overlap. But you can just move those around.
this is a picture of two pine woods tree frogs.
And now the
This is
two
a
audios
stone
are over each other.
frog.
Um,
And bark. Why should we care about frogs? They eat pests like mosquitoes and flies.
anyway, so you can overlap audio. You can put the video. Again, any clip then, when you're in, if you double click on a clip, it'll end up in the source. Then you'll have effects controls, and in effects controls, you'll have things like opacity. So if you wanted to have two clips over each other, you can lower the opacity, or the blend mode. And blend mode is how the one clip relates to the other clip over it. Like if you said difference or exclusion, you can have stuff like that.
Tadpoles eat out.
All right. So these are sort of the basics. I know I want you to go in and experiment, but I'm trying to keep this video sort of short so you can get right to it. All right, I'm going to post more videos about this and keep going with this, but this is the intro video. You should be able to do titles. We can talk a little bit about audio also in the next video. All right.